On a nice warm day like today, you can find most people outside in the park, and some of them you'll notice will be out there with their reading devices. Good morning, my name is Garcines, and today we'll be discussing Chapter 15 of our reading regarding ebooks. First, we have to define what an ebook is and how it came to be.
Our textbooks defined an ebook as a digitalized version of a book meant to be read on a computer, e-reader, or tablet. The goal of the ebook is to provide the ability to read books through an on-screen interface rather than on paper. In order to understand the ebook, we have to look through its history of where it all began.
The Gutenberg project has been considered by many as the first real attempt of creating electronic books. Michael Hart, the founder, began his project in 1971 after he had typed out the Declaration of Independence and sent it to everyone on the network, which some can say was the beginning of the first ever internet virus. Now, the goal of Project Gutenberg is to create and distribute ebooks. According to Michael Hart, the greatest value created by computers was not computing, but it would be the storage, retrieval, and searching of what was stored in our libraries. Let's look at the timeline of the ebook.
Now, after Project Gutenberg in 1971, in 1974, the internet was invented. At the same year, a Xerox employee in the research development in Palo Alto, Nicholas K. Sheridan, invented the Gyricon, which is the predecessor of the e-paper. In 1992, Sony created a precursor to an e-reader called the Data Discman, which we'll cover in a few minutes. Following year, the Apple Newton Message iPad was released. Sony released its first e-reader, the Libre. In 2007, Amazon released the Kindle, and in 2009, Sony linked libraries using the Overdrive Digital Network Alliance, allowing people to borrow ebooks from library. It was also the same year that the Nook was released by Barnes & Noble. In 2010, the tablet released by Apple with the iPad came with iBooks and iBookstore. We'll cover this later on. And also in 2010, Borders Booksellers closed its doors and filed for liquidation. Now, Borders is a small investor in the Kobo company. Kobo itself had its own e-readers, which was released in 2010. Now, a Gyricon consists of an array of hemispherically biochromal balls in a thin, transparent sheet. Now, that thin, transparent sheet or plate is made up of positive and negative electrodes, and that's what the paper is that one sees on an e-reader, as you can see by this picture. Now, when an electric current is applied across the two transparent sheets, just like magnets, the particles will move to the sheet or plate that has the opposite charge. So what exactly are these particles? Now, the particles between the two sheets or plates are electronic ink is made up of millions of these tiny microcapsules, about the size of a human hair. Inside the microcapsules are white positively charged particles and black negatively charged particles. Now, the display that you see when you're reading a book on your e-reader is made up of millions of these microscopic capsules. By applying a negative charge to the bottom electrode or bottom plate, it repels the black spheres to the top of the screen, making the screen appear to have black pixels. When a positive charge moves, then the white ones go to the top, and that's how you get your images or your words on your e-readers.
So now that you understand what e-paper and e-ink are, let's discuss the next steps in the process, and that's how the words on your e-readers are actually formed. What happens next is that the ink is placed on a sheet of plastic film, and then that film is cut and fit to the size of your e-reader. It can be cut in size of your tablet, and attached to it is circuitry, which creates the electromagnetic field that's needed to apply voltage to the screen. Now, when voltage is applied, it allows the ink to move up from the white to the black surface, forming words or images on the screen, such as what you can see on the Kindle White. These images are formed by the electronic ink with voltages preset ahead. Now, what happens is when the voltages is gone, the image will stay imprinted on the screen as black or white. That's the one advantages of having electronic ink and the black and white digital field.
In 1992, Sony came out with the Data Discman, which used CD-ROM and 8 cm CD-ROM. Now, it also had a QWERTY keyboard and a 3.4-inch LCD screen. Now, there wasn't a lot of variety in books available on the CD-ROM, and only about 20 titles were made. Yet the Sony Data Discman book reader was a fast seller in the market when it came out. The following year, Apple came out with the Newton Message Pad. According to a press release, the Message Pad could take notes, store contacts, and manage calendars. You could use it to send a fax, and it had a stylus and could even translate handwriting into text. This was basically a personal data assistant device, which impacted Apple's future, even though at the time the Newton Message was considered a failure. And the main reason for this was that it was hard to build a personalized screen at that time, since technology was not developed to make smaller customizable screens easier. Another failure or cause of failure for the Newton Message was that the device claimed to have the handwriting recognition feature. However, it wasn't fully developed. It didn't help that comic creator of Doonesbury mocked the Apple Newton Messages, thereby sending it into the market grave. In 2004, Sony joined with Philips and E-Ink, releasing the Sony Libre Reader, which was the first device to use electronic ink technology. According to a press release in Mobile Magazine, the black and white ink on paper look of the plastic display film is about 170 pixels per inch and resembles a newsprint. The device also used 4 AAA batteries and allowed one to read over 10,000 pages and download about 500 books on the 10 megabyte storage space. However, if you wanted to add more, there was the option to buy more memory by getting a 512 megabyte Memory Stick Pro from Sony.
Now, this device is significant in ebook history because the first patent for electronic ink was filed back in 1996, and it took nearly 10 years before that invention could come into fruition. Also at this time, the use of the internet was becoming more widespread among the populace, and along with it came websites such as bookbond.com, which allowed the public to download textbooks and certain ebooks for free. Now, one of the biggest online retailer, Amazon, was already established as a bookseller online, so it would be only natural for the company to venture into the world of ebooks. On November 19, 2007, right before the holiday season, Amazon launched its first e-reader.
The Kindle was the first e-reader that allowed the consumer to download books wirelessly without needing to be attached to a computer like its competitor Sony Reading, using the 3G network. The Kindle also introduced a specialized formatting for different devices. Amazon was already selling books online, so the users of Kindles had access to over 90,000 books available directly, and it was formatted for the e-reader. The Kindle also boasts having a longer battery life, up to 30 hours of continuous reading, or several days, if you had set the book or the e-reader aside.
Now, what made Kindle a success was that Amazon was proficient in understanding the market needs and distribution aspects of business. According to our textbook, Amazon.com lowered the cost of its extensive catalog of titles to $9.99 or less, thereby making the content a loss leader. However, this led to an increase in Kindle purchases. Now, this showed that Amazon understood the need of supply and demand.
The Nook had a different format than the Kindle. With the EPUB format, users can read free Google Books and borrow books from their local library. The nice thing about the Nook was that it allowed for music files to be downloaded from your MP3 and played while you're reading a book. There was also a removable battery which can be replaced. Another feature that the Barnes & Noble's Nook had was that while you were in one of their stores, you could browse full text of books without any charge, just like you would with a hardcover or paperback book there. Personally, what attracted me to buy the Nook as my first e-reader was that it allowed you to lend out books you purchased to your friends for 2 weeks without any charge, just like you would with a paperback book that you had bought yourself.
In 2010, Apple introduced the iPad tablet. And what's clever about the tablet was, just like on a computer, you can use both the Nook and the Kindle application on it and read from both formats. However, not to be outdone in the ebook market, along with the iPad came the iBook and the iBookstore. As we read in our textbook, Apple joined with 5 publishers to offer ebooks on the agency model. Now, this allowed Apple and the other online retailers to see different prices and apps, letting the publisher set the price and Apple getting paid a percentage of each sale. This led to publishers pressuring Amazon to do the same thing and follow in the agency model. However, the Department of Justice stepped in and filed a suit against Apple and those 5 publishers, stating that they conspired to keep prices high. Now, according to Wall Street Journal, an article in 2013, U.S. District Judge Denise Cole in Manhattan made a ruling and found Apple conspired with 5 major U.S. publishers to artificially drive up the prices of ebooks in the months ahead of its entering the market in 2010.
While the Kindle and Nook take up a big piece of the e-reader market, there are other e-readers out there, like the Kobo e-reader. In 2010, Kobo was introduced to the US and Canada. According to its company website, Kobo delivers the best digital reading experience to millions of users in 190 countries, offering one of the world's largest catalog with millions of titles. Kobo is owned by Tokyo-based e-commerce company Rakuten. Kobo has also recently acquired Sony's reader customers when Sony closed its reader store in March of 2014. Now, back in 2010, Borders bookstore liquidated its assets and Kobo took over the company's ebook and e-reader clients, even though Borders was a minor stakeholder of the Kobo company.
E-reader applications include the iPad mini, Samsung Galaxy tablet, and since the release of the iPad, the invention of the versatile tablet, both Amazon and Barnes & Noble recognized the need to keep up with Apple and Samsung. Now, Barnes & Noble came out with the Nook HD and HD Plus. The primary difference is the screen size. The HD is about 7 inches and the HD Plus is about 9. Both have color and allow the users not only to read books, but to play games and access live streaming applications like Netflix or Hulu. Amazon also created the Kindle Fire HD, which has a 7-inch screen, or the HDX, which comes in a 7 or 8.9 screen size. It also has color, allowed for more than just reading books, but allowed people to play games on there, access the internet, and do some video streamings as well. But going back to our original topic of ebooks, Amazon has improved its e-reader with e-ink technology with the Kindle DX, which has a larger screen of 9.7 inches and the smaller Kindle Paperwhite. The comparison to that would be Barnes & Noble's Nook Glow Light. Now, the thing with the paper technology was, unlike, say, your tablet, when you're reading out in the sun, you've got the glare of the tablet and you have to worry about how you're going to read your books because of the glare that's on their LCD screen. The nice thing about the Kindle Paperwhite, or say the Nook Glow Light, is just like paper, you can go out in the sun and you don't have to worry because you can still read the book and still read the words on your page without the glare of the screen reflecting back at you. Now, with all these different e-readers available in the market, the sales of ebooks has increased since 2010, as well as, say, the published books. Nowadays, you can publish your own book, write your own memoirs, and go through non-traditional publishing houses like Lulu or Blurb.com. Because of this, it was projected that in 2013, there was almost 3 million ebooks published. However, the traditional books was only 300,000. Now, with so much content out there that's available on the internet, the next problem would be how to organize this. Traditionally with books, the libraries came up with the Dewey Decimal System to organize their books in categories. Well, you've got this wide spread amounts of books coming in, people writing their memoirs, people writing their stories, people writing their travel logs. How are you going to organize it? How can you search for it? While Google may be a nice search engine, there has to be a way to be able to find the book that you're looking for.
This leads to our discussion question, which is, what is the future for our libraries? Now, as libraries and some ebook publishers are trying to still work out their differences with regards to copyright laws, the general public may not know it that some of your local libraries do offer ebooks on loan. Another question is, how will publishing change in the future with regards to ebooks and copyright laws?
I hope you all have learned as much about ebooks as I have while doing this process, and I'm sure some of you have your preferred methods. I still prefer using a regular book, reading it hand to hand, feeling the paper, At the same time, when I'm traveling, it is quite handy to have something like, say, the Kindle Paperwhite with me, where I can carry 20, 50, 100 of my favorite books along with me, as well as travel guides. So I think the format that people choose just depends on their preferences as well as what their needs are.